Welcome to Hawaiian IANDS. I'm Sean Lether, and I want to welcome everybody on Facebook Live and on YouTube. Glad to see you all. If you're watching us on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe to our Hawaiian IANDS YouTube channel. I am thrilled to welcome our very special guest, Michelle Clare. Michelle Clare is a certified medium, angel intuitive, spiritual coach, energetic healer, intuitive life coach, and three-time near-death experience survivor. She receives messages from loved ones who have crossed over, as well as angels and life guides. Michelle helps people understand that they are not living life alone and that each of us has a spiritual team consisting of our loved ones, angels, and life guides who are constantly helping us from the other side. Michelle's book, The Longest Second, Emergence of a Medium, is scheduled for publication soon. You can learn more about Michelle by going to michelleclaire.net. Welcome, Michelle. So glad that you are here.
Thank you, Sean. I am so happy and honored to be here with everyone tonight. What a pleasure.
So why don't you just start and share a little bit about your near-death experiences and how you became a medium?
Yeah, let's do that. And then let's also talk about shared death experiences too, because before everyone logged on, I had shared with you that I actually had one of those today. Maybe I actually feel like I should start there. So let me start with how my day went. Okay. I've only had one other shared death experience, and I know many of you have had those too. And the one that I had before was with my beautiful white German Shepherd as she was being euthanized. And as I was on the floor in my pajamas, crying, holding her, not trying to be a medium, I could feel her soul very gently separate from her body. It felt very much like that scene in Forrest Gump where there's this feather floating on the wind. And I heard my mom come in and say to me, "I have her now." My mom had passed a couple years before that. And then it took about 30 seconds, and then the vets listened to her heart and said she was gone. But I had already felt her soul disengage from her body. And I think it's really important for me to share that with you tonight, because a lot of times we wonder when our soul leaves our body, even if it's a traumatic experience, was it a hard departure? No, a lot of times what I know as a medium and from the work that I do, the soul disengages very gently. So think about this when we're considering how our loved ones pass. Very often it's traumatic, or it's traumatic on the people around. But a lot of times before they ever even are taking their last breath, their soul has already released its connection with the body, because the soul doesn't need to carry that trauma or know about that. So I just want to give you that. But today, I'm going to share with you my day. I had another shared death experience. So I was actually out running errands, and there was a man in front of me that actually, I believe, had a fentanyl overdose and died. And the police were called, and they were giving him CPR and the Narcan, and I could feel his soul hovering around his body. They did get him back. They did get him breathing, but then I could feel, so there's this thing called entanglement that happens with our souls. And I could feel as they were driving him away in the ambulance, I could actually feel him code again. I could feel the chest pain, probably as they were paddling him. And I don't actually know. I tried to disengage at that point. I don't know if he survived or not. But this is one of the things we talk about at IANDS, which is this shared death experience. And it can be from a very small level where we see the curtains, move as someone passes, or we see a beautiful light leave their body, all the way up to people reporting seeing their life review, and everything in between. And so today, I had that experience. I felt some of what his physical body was going through, but I do not believe he was feeling it. I think it was just an awareness that I had. So anyway, that was the day that I had. I guess that was prepping me for that talk tonight. I will also tell you this. I absolutely believe in the power of prayer, because when we pray for someone, we are sending them energy. We are sending them love, and we are sending them light. And so in those moments where we are feeling helpless, the number one thing you can do is actually pray and bring in that light and that energy for the person needing help and the first responders and all the people around them. So, okay. Now that I got that out of the way, we are going to go ahead and start with my near-death experiences. So first of all, I'm just honored. I am honored and thrilled to be here with everyone tonight. It is truly always such a pleasure to be able to share these messages because they really are messages of hope. And what these 3 near-death experiences have taught me is that none of us are living this life alone. We have what I call our spirit team around us, which would consist of angels, life guides, loved ones in spirit, a higher power, whether your word is source, God, the divine, but we are all deeply and then strongly supported on this journey. So that's one of the things that is the greatest gift of these near-death experiences. My first one actually occurred in April of 2000. So at that point in time, I was in a hospital because my sister-in-law was having a baby. And we were all there to visit her that day. And in those moments, everyone's excited. And then I realized that her RN was actually one of my friends from high school. So I was out in the hallway talking to her. And all of a sudden, I had this massive seizure. And I had never had a seizure before. And I've never had one since. But what I remember about that is opening my eyes. And I was in this beautiful white room. And in this room, the walls, they appeared to be walls, but they were alive and they were breathing. And every cell, every molecule in these walls was lit up from the inside with this beautiful light and love. And as I was laying there, I looked up and I realized that my head was in my grandma's lap. And my grandma had passed a couple years before this. So my grandma was just holding me, and she was absolutely looking at me as the youngest, brightest, most healthy version of her that I had ever seen. And I just remember, for those of you that are experiencers, you know this, there really are no human words to explain what we're trying to convey about the feelings there, because it's beyond blissful. It's beyond unconditional love. It permeates every soul in every cell in your body and in your soul and in your mind and in your being. And so I'm in this beautiful timeless space. And as I'm looking at my beautiful grandma, I realize that next to her is this amazing angel. And this angel appears to be about 12 feet tall. I had been raised Catholic. I believed in angels and saints and Mother Mary and Jesus and all of these lovely beings of light. But what I never realized until that moment was actually the power and the strength and the magnificence of angels, and truly the size of their soul or their energy that they're carrying. And as I looked up at her, I mean, she had this female energy about her. I was feeling literally like I was being drawn into her being. And I was truly in awe and amazement by her. And so I decided I wanted to see her feather wings, because we all know angels have feather wings. And as I went to look for those feather wings, what I realized was that her wings were made of light. And this light was iridescent and translucent and moving and alive. It was similar to the aurora borealis, where the lights are moving, and it spanned eternity. There was no end to these wings. It was absolutely stunning. As I looked at her, I thought in my head, what is your name? And she answered me in my head. She said, my name's Madeline, and I'm one of your guardian angels. And I was really shocked at this point in time, because I was raised Catholic. I did not know anything about telepathic communication, near-death experiences. None of these were words that were in my vocabulary. But I felt her love, and almost the fact that it was more than love, it was that she absolutely adored me. And I could feel that so strongly in those moments that I was there. And I was in no hurry to go back to Earth. I just wanted to lay in this blissful, loving place with my grandma and this angel forever. And the next thing I know, I hear someone yelling, code, 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 because I was already in the hospital. And I am back in my body. And it was like I got dropped out of a 10-story building. It was heavy. It was dense. My arm felt like it weighed 500 pounds. My head hurt, my body hurt, everything. I went from this pure blissful state totally thrown back into the human realm. And I know many of you have experienced that too. And it's almost shocking to have that happen. With this near-death experience, I really did not know that term. I knew I had had an experience, but I had never heard near-death experience. I did not know how to process it. I didn't know who to talk to about it. And it probably took me 2 to 3 weeks before I even shared it with my mom, because at that point in time, it's beyond words, as many of you know, and it takes so much time to just process the experience to be able to share it. And with that first near-death experience, there were some lessons that I learned, and I'm actually going to share some of those with you tonight. I wrote them down so that I wouldn't forget any of them. But one of the really great things that I learned was that this heavenly realm and our people in spirit, you know, they do have an awareness that we could call psychic, or we could call, you know, just foresight, right? They knew I was coming, right? I didn't show up and surprise anyone. My grandma was waiting for me. My guardian angel was waiting for me. And my first big message from this was that, oh, when people transition, when we leave our bodies, no one dies alone. You could be in the middle of the Sahara Desert by yourself in human form, but no one dies alone. We have our loved ones, our angels, and our life guides who are always waiting. They know we're coming. It's already been announced. And so, I mean, that always brings me comfort, not just for myself, but for others who are transitioning. I found out that angels are real. I had always believed in them, but now I had seen one, and now I had felt her energy, and I could feel her gaze and her love permeating my body. It was unbelievable. And I loved finding out that her wings were made of light, not feathers. And it makes sense that they were perceived as feathers, or that's how we create the statues and like my statues behind me here, right? They have feathers, because how could you ever put light on them? But it really is light. I learned about this timeless dimension. So I have no idea if I was there 2 seconds, 20 seconds, 2 minutes. I really had no idea. I knew it couldn't have been that long. I was already in the hospital when they called the code team. But during that time, there was no time. So it felt like forever, and it felt like a second all at once. It's really a beautiful feeling. In this heavenly realm, every cell, every molecule, I don't have better words than that for it, radiates light and love from the inside out. So I would often compare what I saw and what it felt like. When you are looking at a tree and the sunlight hits it just right, and every leaf is lighting up, but the leaves are lighting up on the outside, imagine that from the inside out. That was what this realm was like. Everything was lit up from the inside out. So the light, it's just like it is in our human form. Our light comes from within. We do. It's our spark of God, our spark of the divine. And so everything in this heavenly realm, just like on planet Earth, we don't see it as often here because we don't take the time to notice it, but it is all lit up from within. And then the other message and lesson that I learned was that telepathic and energetic communication is really the effortless way of communicating. And so in this heavenly realm, the multiple times that I've been there, the communication that I've had, it really isn't words. Our human, especially our English language, it almost, it kind of dumbs down the transmission, for lack of a better word. And so when you are able to communicate telepathically or with energetic thoughts, think of it as blast, it's almost more of a transmission. The messages come through much more clean and pure. And this is also something that now plays out in my mediumship, but I had no awareness of it until that first near-death experience. So that was my first one in April 2000. In hindsight, I believe that near-death experience was really meant to awaken me to the angelic realm, awaken me to the light and the love that's available for all of us, and to the fact that, like I said earlier, our angels, our loved ones in spirit, when it's our time to transition, they know we're coming, and they're right there waiting to help us. So those were the beautiful messages and lessons that came out of my first near-death experience. My second one happened in May 2006. So at that point in time, I had had my son on April 1st, and after I had him, I had quite a few complications. So I'd be in the hospital for 5 days, go home for 2 days, start running a fever again, put me back in the hospital. So I spent 6 weeks, most of it in the hospital, but I'd come home for a couple days and go back in on IV antibiotics. And finally, by the time I got to the middle of May, the doctor said, Michelle, we're going to have to do a DNC. And this is a really basic outpatient procedure. We go in, we clear out your uterus because they believed, I had an infection in there and that was causing the complications. And they just told me it would be an easy procedure, and then I'd be done and be able to go home and be with my kids. And at that point in time, I had 3 kids. I still have 3 kids. They were an infant, 2.5 and 5. And so I said, okay, because they made it sound like this was going to work. And the night before this procedure, I had this pit in my stomach. I absolutely knew I should not go through with it, but I kept remembering how quick and easy this was going to be and that this was going to solve all of my problems. So I went ahead and went to the hospital the next day. And I remember talking to the doctor again and the anesthesiologist, asking them both, are you sure this is going to be fine? Yep, quick and easy. It's going to be great. I've had anesthesia before that procedure. And whenever I've had anesthesia in the past, it was just this blank space. There were no dreams, there were no memories. It was just a blank. So I remembered counting backwards for the anesthesiologist. And the next thing I know, I am in the operating room on the gurney, and I look over, and my beautiful white German Shepherd named Tahoe, she was about 102 pounds. She had passed a couple years before. She walks into the operating room. She lays her head on the gurney like this, looks at me. And the next thing I know, we are gone. And we are on this phenomenal beach. And on this beach, there are sights, there are colors, there are sounds, there are emotions that we don't even have on Earth. And I don't actually even have words to describe them. It is, again, this blissful, unconditional love, timeless space. And I realize, once again, every drop in the ocean, every grain of sand, every molecule, every cell on every flower, plant, tree was radiating this light and love. And as my beautiful dog and I were here on this beach, I was looking at her, and we were, again, communicating telepathically. I could tell how happy she was that I was there. I was so happy to be with her. At the IANDS conference, someone said to me, I'm trying to remember exactly how she asked it. She said, did you touch your dog? Did you hold your dog? Actually, I didn't. And I will tell you why, because the transmission of love and communication that we had was so strong that if I had actually bent down to hug her, it almost felt like it would have watered down what we were already sharing. So it never even crossed my mind, because we were so much more strongly connected than we could ever be physically. And as I was looking at her, we start running, and we are running on this beautiful beach. And as we're running, I notice we're not getting hot, we're not getting tired, we're not getting thirsty. The sand that we were running on felt like we were running on clouds. It didn't feel heavy or packed. One of the funny things about this near-death experience is that I actually hate to run. So I will tell my friends, if you see me running, call 911. Like, that's not Michelle going out for a jog. But here I am in this near-death experience, running and running with my dog on the beach. So you never know what your near-death experience might look like, but you'll love it when you're in it. I will tell you that. As she and I are on this beach, and we are just having this immense communication, like really every cell in your body is communicating with every wavelength of love. I have no other way to say it. And I keep saying body, but I don't actually know. I had a body in this near-death experience, but it was more of an energetic body than a physical body. I could feel things with my energy, and I felt like I had a body, but in hindsight, it wasn't like the body that I have now. So as I'm with her on this beach and we are running, I can feel my son calling to me. So he was actually physically located at the house with my mom while I was at the hospital. But what I learned is our soul can be in more than one place at a time. And as I can feel him calling to me, because he was 6 weeks old and he knew I was getting ready to leave planet Earth, I go to him. So I have this part of me that's on the beautiful beach with my dog. And I have this part of me that is now with my son. And I am looking at him and I can feel that he is scared. He has just come into planet Earth. He's got a long life ahead of him and he knows I'm getting ready to leave. And I say to him, I will find a way to stay. And I don't know what to do. I don't know how that's going to happen. And I automatically just start praying. And I start saying, it's not my time. My kids still need me. I need to stay longer. I need help. And the next thing I know, I'm back in the operating room. I feel Jesus come in and I see him. And I need to say that he comes in as my friend. He doesn't come in saying, bow down to me, pray to me. No, literally walked in as your best friend, as your equal. And the next thing I know, the operating room fills up with this beautiful white golden light. And then I'm waking up and I'm up and I'm in post-op. And at that point in time, my 45-minute procedure, as I'm looking at the clock, had turned into over a 3.5-hour emergency surgery because the doctor had ruptured my uterus in 2 places and missed my artery by less than a millimeter. And the recovery from this, so sometimes when people have near-death experiences, as many of you know, they actually come back with a miraculous healing. I didn't get that experience in any of these. Every time I come back, I have to work through the physical aspect of it. So after this experience, it took me at least 4 months to get back to maybe 80% of my normal functioning capacity and normal energy level. But it was really intense. And here's one of the things that I learned that I think is so important for all of us to know. My soul ushered in a miracle. My soul in that moment was able to say, I'm not ready. It's not my time. I need help. And I don't think that that is just some random gift that I was able to do. I actually think that for many of us, there are many times in life where we are able to call in that miracle. And for me, that happened in that moment. But one of the things that I know for sure, especially as my work as a medium continues, is that miracles really do happen, and they happen every single day. And every one of us is beyond deserving of a miracle, because you can't deserve a miracle. When I've asked Spirit about this, they say, we don't call them miracles, we call them happenings. They happen when you get in alignment, body, mind, and spirit. So in those moments where you're looking for your miracles in life, do your meditation, do your walk, whatever it is you need to do to get into alignment. Because when we're in alignment, the happenings happen, and humans call them miracles. Some of my lessons from that second NDE, one of my favorite ones, animals go to heaven. Once again, my beautiful white German Shepherd knew I was going to be there, and she's the one who came in the operating room to get me. I didn't know I was going, but she did. So for so many of us, our beloved pets are not pets, they're part of our family. And I loved finding out. I always thought they went to heaven, but now I knew for a fact they did. And so I want to just give you that great piece of information. Another thing I learned was how gently the light, the love, the essence of heaven embraces you. It is this beautiful, warm, but not just warm with a temperature, but warm inside, like just warming you from the inside out. Unconditional love and bliss and purity that is very, very hard to know in human form. I would say for those of you that have animals that you adore, think of that pure love that you have for your animal. It's like that times about 80 billion. It is so intense and so pure. And I learned that there were the colors, the smells, the sounds, and even emotions. So they're not emotions that are available to us in human form. And my understanding is because we can't pick up that frequency as easily with our body or here in this earth realm, but they are beyond blissful. They are pure, they are intense, they are clean, they're amazing, but they're actually beyond words. And it's a frequency that's hard to find here on Earth. And I think a lot of you who've had near-death experiences are probably shaking your head or understanding because you remember this. Like, this is why we say the words blissful and unconditional love are very much watered down versions of this heavenly realm, because there are emotions and frequencies that are greater than what we can even imagine in our human form. Here was another thing I learned. Jesus is real. I literally saw him, felt him, and he came in as my friend. So very often people want to put him on a pedestal, you know, and I 100% will tell you he is a master. I have no doubt of that. He mastered his human form. He's an ascended master. But when he comes in to work with you, he's coming in as your friend, not as somebody who wants you to look up to him. The other thing I learned in this near-death experience is that there was no one there to judge me. I was the one judging myself. And I think that's something that we hear time and time again from experiencers, that there isn't someone judging us. When we get to the other side, when we have our life review, we get to see where we could have made better choices. We get to see how some other outcomes might have shaped our life or other people around us. But it's never done from a place of punishment or harshness. It's always done from learning, right? And your soul comes to planet Earth to love and learn and play in the magic of life in a way that we can't in the heavenly realm. And so life is about the lessons and the learning and the love. And when you have your life review, which I do believe we all have, I don't believe these happen immediately. I think it depends on the soul, the way the soul transitioned, and when it's ready to start looking at those things. So to me, this heavenly realm was always about love and comfort too. And as a medium, I get to see that, right? When I get to connect with people on the other side, everyone is met with love and comfort and compassion. And by this, I would say, if you're somebody who is transitioning into this heavenly realm, when you're very closed-minded, you are going to be welcomed in with what you are expecting. Are you expecting to see Jesus, mountains and oceans, Buddha? Like, what are you expecting to find? Are you expecting to see your beautiful dog or grandma? You're going to be welcomed in the way that is comfortable for you, so that you can start getting adjusted and expand more into the energy of heaven. I like to think of heaven almost as a house. So picture it as your house. When you get to the front door, because we're all going to get to the front door at some point, when you get to that front door, some people might just be ready to take a step in. They might be ready to go 10 feet in. They might be ready to go to the master bedroom and make themselves at home. It just depends where you are on your journey. You are allowed access to this whole house, this whole level, all of this love. But usually when we don't go straight into it, it's because we have our human ideas that maybe I'm only worthy of standing in the doorway right now. Okay, now I've made it to the living room. So it's all about love and compassion. You're going to be greeted with what is comfortable to you so that you're open and ready to step into more. The other thing that I found out in this near-death experience that was really important to me was that, number one, my soul could be in more than one place at a time. And that makes a lot of sense to me now with my mediumship, but I didn't know that prior to this near-death experience. So when I'm doing readings for people, and I'll say to them, you know, I have your loved one right here. Yes, their loved one is here with me. And if I'm reading for them on Zoom, their loved one is there with them and their loved one is still in heaven. So it's a little bit like our Zoom meeting right now. Here we are from all around the world connecting on one platform, right? So in an interesting way, I'm probably out here around the world right now, and yet I'm sitting right here in Phoenix, Arizona. Our soul is so immense and so beyond our human capabilities of understanding, but it's actually possible to be in more than one location at a time. So sometimes we'll hear about families who say, last night, all three of us had the same dream about Grandpa. He came in, he was in his yellow shirt, and he said, yes, that's absolutely true, because Grandpa can be with all three of you at one time. So that's beautiful to me. And the other thing that I learned is that, to my understanding, this is going to be the small, I'm trying to get the right words for what I'm feeling right now. Sorry. When spirit's working with me, they transmit through feelings, and then I translate what I'm feeling into words. So there are at least 3 levels, right? That we decide whether we can stay on this earth plane or whether we go to that heavenly realm or go home. These are the 3 that I'm aware of. I'm sure there are more than that, but these are 3 that I know of for sure. So number 1 is going to be, can the body hold on to life still, right? So sometimes people die in traumatic ways and the body can no longer sustain life. So if the body can't sustain life, you're going home. And that's all there is to it. Number 2, on a soul level. So had I transitioned at that point in time, was there going to be someone else in my life who could pick up and carry on with my mission? You know, would one of my sisters come in and raise my kids? Would my best friend, like, what was that going to look like? And number 3 is it really does come down to your soul and God. And so a lot of times people will say to me, do you think my loved one had the choice to come back and they chose to leave? And I'm going to tell you, I don't think so. I think that really we do get the choice at times, but I think most people, when they are in that spirit realm and they see the bigger plan, like for me, knowing that I had 3 kids here, I knew I had to come back. And your soul has so much immense power behind it. I know we have so many challenges in life, but your soul created this life plan knowing that you are actually really there in a place that you could achieve it. No one is given a life plan that they're going to fail at. We have free will, and so we can make decisions that aren't in our highest good or decisions that take us off track. But none of you have been given a life plan that isn't achievable. And so I think very often when we get to that realm, we'll come back because we know that our soul signed up for this and that we want to live and love and play and learn and evolve and grow in this earthly realm. And this earthly realm is where most of our growing happens because it is created with so much contrast or challenges, so much black and white, all of these different things that we don't have in that heavenly realm. And because of that, our souls grow very quickly here. You can see the contrast. Walk outside, drive down the freeway. I mean, you'll see it. Somebody's getting cut off. Somebody's mad. Somebody's driving by singing in the car, right? People are happy. People aren't. There's contrast everywhere, which makes this really the leading edge for learning on a soul level because we have so many opportunities to do that every single day. All right, so let me just see. Want to make sure I got you all of those lessons from that second near-death experience. Okay, my third near-death experience, because 2 wasn't enough, but I have made a vow. My next one, I'm out. I'm not coming back. So I think I'm stuck here for about 40 some more years. But 3's been good, and I'm calling it quits on that. My third one happened on 11/1/11, so November 1st, 2011. And in that near-death experience, I have actually in this house that I'm in right now, 14-foot ceilings and about 12 feet off of the ground. I have these candle holders. They're battery-operated candles, and you put the little batteries in, and every night they light up and glow, you know, for 4 or 6 hours. And I would go up on my ladder and change those batteries. This was something I had actually done many times. My kids at this point in time were 5, 8, and 10. And my younger 2 were home. My oldest was in an after-school program. And I told my younger 2, I said, after I put this candle up, we're going to go get your sister. So I remember climbing up this ladder, and I actually vividly remember it. And I get to the top of the ladder and I can feel it start to shift. And as it starts to shift, I remember thinking, this is going to hurt because I knew I was going down. And at that moment, I am literally yanked out of my body, not in a painful way, but in a very fast way. And I am turned around and I am facing my body and the ladder suspended in the air. It was almost like a freeze frame moment where it's just, everything is just hanging there. And I notice I'm standing with these 3 people. They look human to me. They feel like friends or family. I can feel their love. I'm in this timeless space. I'm once again surrounded by this blissful love. And one is an Asian man, one is an Egyptian woman, and the other one is a Hawaiian man. And although I had never met these people in my life, I had this deep love and this deep connection. They felt like family. They felt like friends. I knew they knew me inside out. And as I was standing there with them, they asked me, what do you want to do? Do you want to stay or do you want to go? And as I was looking at my body suspended in the air, I was trying to understand how I had forever to decide. They weren't rushing me. I could literally take forever to decide if I was ready to go home. And yet at the same time, I was thinking, but I don't understand this because my body's going to hit the floor in a second. And as I was looking at my body and the ladder in the air, I saw this beautiful angel come in, and this angel was dressed in this deep, deep red, brilliant gold. And as I saw that angel, I knew that angel was here to either take me home or shift something so that I could stay. And at that moment, my attention was drawn to my younger two kids who were there in the living room. And as I looked at them, I just knew I needed to stay. And as I made that decision, I was immediately downloaded with so much information. I was told that, okay, but you've got to go back and you've got to do your mediumship. You've got to do it in only the way that you can do it, right? There are lots of mediums, but everyone has a little bit of a different touch or flavor to them. And so I was being asked to come back and really follow that part of my soul's calling. I was told that my 25-year marriage would probably end in divorce. And I was also told that there'd be more trauma ahead. And even to this day, for those of you who have experienced something like that, I still get pieces of information that they gave me in that download that have either been suppressed or forgotten. Part of the things that I remember them telling me, and when I say this, it is absolutely in the most loving way. And also there were no words. This was also an energetic transmission. So I'm trying to put it into words for you. But it was about being part of the one, being part of the all, that you are everything and everything is you. And you are, and I'm not saying this in a blasphemous way, you are already one with God. God is you. You are God. It was really this reminder of everything is one. And so I decided to stay, right? And I come back into my body after I've been downloaded with all of this information, and I fell. I hit the back of my head back here on the corner of my granite kitchen island. So I had a 5.5-inch skull fracture. I had a brain bleed over here. I lost my taste, my smell, my equilibrium, part of my hearing, and part of my vision. And I survived the fall by 1/2 inch because I literally missed my brainstem by 1/2 inch. And I knew immediately that was how much the angel had moved my head. And I often think of this near-death experience, and I think about how the pivot point of my entire life happened in this moment where spirit stopped time. And I was downloaded with this information of what was possible, not just for me, but for others on this world. And I was connected to source and such a pure, clean energy. And in this moment where there is no time, my entire life changed. Sorry, I know it's a little bit heavy for me sometimes, not heavy, emotional. So what happens is I go, obviously, I'm taken to the hospital. I'm in ICU. I'm in the hospital about 10 days. I come home and I start to heal. And I didn't realize at that point in time that the 3 people I was standing with were life guides, because that was not a word that was even in my vocabulary. But in hindsight, what I realized is, oh, those were my 3 life guides. That's why they were there when I came to make that decision, right? So life guides are real, and we all have at least one, and some of us have more than one. Once again, I was reminded, no one's going to die alone. No one transitions to that heavenly realm by themselves. Sometimes we get a choice. So in this near-death experience, I was given a choice. And then at the same time, I'm also thinking, I don't know how much of a choice I was given when I saw my kids and I knew they still needed me. Like the mom in me was like, oh, wait, my kids need me. I better go back. But at the same time, I did feel like I was given a choice. In this heavenly realm, every decision Every choice that is made, every word that is spoken, everything that is transmitted is done from a place of love. So I actually had a knowing that if I had chosen to go home to that heavenly realm that day, it was going to be okay. It was going to be done in love. Like I was getting ready to be welcomed home. Somehow my kids were going to be taken care of. Whatever needed to be in alignment was aligned for me to go ahead and do that if that's what I had chosen to do. And one of the kind of the most interesting things that I came back from that third near-death experience with was that I actually came back and I was really able to start looking at people. And instead of saying, why is my friend always dating the wrong guy? I was able to start looking at my friend and saying, I wonder what their soul wants to learn. So I really came back with this knowledge that our souls are whole. We don't have broken souls. We might feel broken as our human, but your soul is always whole, complete, and strong. And when we see someone making repeated choices that we might think are bad decisions, the real question is, what is their soul trying to learn? Not what's wrong with them. Why are they doing this? This is a dumb decision. It's really about their soul wanting to learn something on a higher level. And when you're able to look at people from that level, it's beautiful because it comes from a place of non-judgment. It comes from a place of really curious, like, I wonder what their soul's trying to learn. There's nothing for me to judge there, and there's nothing for any of us to judge. It's really about what course of life on earth did they sign up for? And we have what, 7.5 billion people here right now. So we have over 7 billion courses of life on planet Earth happening at the same time. And we don't know each other's plan or course, but we know that the soul came to learn and grow and love and play in the magic of life. So after this, I'm going to go into some other stuff with you, but I want to follow this up. So 11/1/11 was my head injury and my accident, all of the third near-death experience, everything happens then. I get to Christmas. Also, I broke my arm. So by the way, like when you have little kids, you'll probably know this. Like when my cast got taken off my arm, 6 weeks later, my kids thought I was fine. They're like, oh, mom's fine. Her cast is off her arm. I was not fine. Like my brain was scrambled. I was bouncing down the hallway with vertigo, trying to walk. It was not good, but the kids thought I was fine because the cast came off. So we get through Christmas. And then in January of 2012, my son, who was 5 at the time, started getting very depressed. And he would come to me and he would say, Mom, I didn't do anything to help you. Because he had tried to call 911 when I had my accident. And he believed it didn't go through. And my 8-year-old had called. And he would tell my mom, he would tell me, he would tell my mother-in-law, I did nothing to help you. And we would say, Josh, that's not true. You opened the door for the policeman, like you helped. And he would say, nope, Sophie could have done it without me. And you could feel this little 5-year-old and the weight on his shoulders and on his heart. So the end of January 2012, I was standing in my kitchen. I had had mediumship connections with my grandparents throughout my life, but it wasn't something that had been open to other people or I wasn't getting messages for everyone. My grandfather, who passed away when I was 12, literally manifested in front of me in my kitchen. He was talking to me about my accident and my head injury and my son, and they lived decades apart on this earth. They never met. And he said to me, he said, Michelle, you need to get the 911 recording. There's something on there you should know. And he was gone. And I was in shock because I had never had an experience like this. And actually at that point in time, I didn't even know I could get the 911 recording. So I went and I ordered it. It took a couple of weeks to come in. And when I got it, I put it in to play it. And I hear them say, 911, what's your emergency? And in his little broken voice, I hear my son Josh say, Sophie, what do I say? And he lays the phone down. For the next minute and a half, the 911 operator tried to get their attention, and you could hear her saying, what's going on? Can you hear me? And she's talking to them. But he had called right when the trauma happened, and he was so traumatized, he didn't even remember calling or know that his call had gone through. So then I heard him say he was going to go push the panic button on the house alarm. And my daughter said, hold on, let me try to call 911. She hung up the 911 call, called back, and then her call went through too. And they actually connected her to the firemen who were en route from my son's first call. And you could hear them talking to her so kindly, saying, "We're coming. What's your mom doing?" So when my son got home from kindergarten that day, I said to him, I said, "Josh," I said, "your call went through. Help was coming." And when I was able to share that message with him, you could see this 10,000-pound weight getting lifted off of his shoulders. And you could see his self-worth, his faith in himself. Oh my gosh, you could just see it flooding back in. And so that was another really pivotal moment in my life, because I remembered that I had said yes to following through with mediumship, even though I had no idea what that was going to look like or how I was going to do it. But being able to be in that moment and see how the message that my grandfather gave me was actually able to create change in the life of my little boy, that I couldn't help, I couldn't change it, I couldn't shift the way he was feeling about what happened. And seeing the spark of his light come back on so strong, in that moment, I truly got it. And I got the comprehension of the gravity of how this connection with our loved ones continues on, how they are connected to our kids, our grandkids, even though we think, oh, they never met. Oh, they absolutely know each other. And not only do they know them, they love them, and they're watching over them, and they're cheering them on. So in those moments, there couldn't have been a better expression to me of the power of mediumship and love than what I was able to witness between my grandfather and my son. And the two of them had never met in this lifetime. So it was really beautiful. I'm just trying to think what else I want to share with you guys about that. I think with that near-death experience, I really felt like I was coming back after all of this as almost like an ambassador, right? Sent to affirm the reality for everyone that we have a spirit team, that we have life guides, that we have angels, that they have their wings and their arms wrapped around us, that our loved ones in spirit are still connected to us, that none of us are living this life alone. And if you don't believe it, just start asking for help, because I promise you, it will show up in your daily life, and it will come from old friends, new friends, strangers, but that love is always there. And so this is really what started me on my mediumship journey. I say I did it the hard way. I have a lot of friends who are mediums, and they will tell me I was born like that. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Good for you. That's definitely the easy way to do it. Like, don't make it this hard, right? One of the beautiful things about this is that I can tell you all of our souls have a higher plan. There's a higher plan for all of us than what we're seeing in our human life, and that every moment of our life matters. So even when you're thinking, hey, I had a lazy day, I took a nap on the couch, or I didn't get whatever, the dishes done, it's okay, because those things are really non-eventful. What matters is that your soul is here experiencing planet Earth. And that's what you actually came to do in that bigger scope of things. So yes, that's kind of my story. I then went along to get a mentor to start learning how to do mediumship. The way that it started for me, I was getting downloaded with information. And so I really needed to learn how to hone into that and kind of tune into that frequency and that vibration and connect with it when I wanted to. I always like to tell people, think of this as a radio station. So if you're telling me, hey, Michelle, I need to connect with my angels, we're going to channel 111, got to connect to grandma, channel 103, got to connect to life guide. So we really can guide and direct it and tune into the individual frequencies. And then after my mentoring, I went through a certification process, which is on the Find a Certified Medium website, which I always recommend. Use the Certified Medium if you don't know where to start, because they've all been vetted. And with those readings, what we did was he would tell me, okay, log on to Skype Wednesday at 11, and I'd log on. I'd have, someone I didn't know there, or maybe even a blank screen. And then you just start giving them the information you're getting. And so they're basically scoring the reading, and it's a stranger, someone you've never met, but it's really a beautiful gift. We all have this gift, okay? Every single one of you is psychic, you're a medium, you have your own soul and your own connection to source. It's about fine-tuning it and growing it. And so I like to compare it to math. Most of us can do basic math, right? You can balance your checkbook, you can pay your bills. Some people will become physicists. I will never be a physicist, but I can work on it and I can get better and I can get stronger. And so for those of you who are wanting to do that, a lot of times we think of it as intuition, right? Start trusting those gut feelings, start trusting your heart. Yes, your brain has unimaginable amounts of intelligence in it, but so does your heart and so does your gut. So really starting to listen to all of the intelligence within your body and your soul. All right, Sean, I am ready for questions.
Okay. Yeah, we have a lot. So first of all, I have to say how grateful I am that you
Aww.
are our first speaker. I mean, what an amazing way to start the new year. So thank you so much. I've just been having chills the whole time and really enjoyed this. So I wanted to thank you first. Also, for everybody that has questions, go ahead and keep sending them to me in the chat. Also, just to let you know, people interested about mediumship, Michelle and I, we're going to do an after-death communication sharing group, like our regular sharing group. And then you can share your experiences and ask Michelle questions. And so we'll plan that in the next couple of months.
Yes.
But, okay, so first of all, why do you think you had 3 near-death experiences? And why do some have none?
Right. So I do believe it was part of my soul plan. What I know as a medium is that we all come here with exit points. So all of us come with at least 5 exit points where we say, hey, if life gets hard, I might want to step out here. I might want to step out here. It might be the missed car accident that you never knew happened. It might be you picked up the wrong prescription at the pharmacy and realized it before you took the pill. Like it could show up in a million different ways, right? But I believe we have at least 5 exit points. So for me, part of my soul plan, and I know this too from my own connection with spirit. Oh gosh, okay. I'm like, I'm not going to get emotional. I'm going to hold it together for this. Oh, part of my soul plan that has been very challenging was that I decided I wanted to find God in this lifetime. And I wanted to get so close that I could touch him and feel him and see God, source, the divine. I don't actually, when I say God, I do not think of like an old white man with a beard on a throne. I mean the energy, the love, the source, okay? And I wanted to be able to literally touch that in my human form. And so I've done that through those 3 near-death experiences, but I also need to say, I've done that in the depths of grief. So for some people who might not know this, my life partner transitioned by suicide in August. And in those depths of grief, like where you can't even figure out how you're going to take your next breath, you will also find God there.
Beautiful.
And so, yeah, so that was, I don't recommend this life plan, but I would also say this, the universe, which is always in our favor, did give me a couple opportunities to wake up before I got knocked off the ladder. And I don't actually think I was knocked off the ladder. I think I fell off. But anyway, with that being said, right, we're always getting these taps on the shoulders. We're always getting these nudges, right? And what it was my life plan, my life guides, like part of my purpose was to come here and follow through with my mediumship, my communication, my medical intuitive stuff, all of these things that I do. And I had completely forgotten who I was and what my life plan was. And the universe kept trying to remind me until I finally got it.
That is so beautiful and perfectly said. So speaking of this life plan, who designs this life plan, and how do we decide on it?
Right. Well, I love that. That's a great question. So your soul, you design your life plan. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, no, I would never design that. And I'm going to tell you, human Michelle would never design 3 NDEs, a partner passing from suicide, and a divorce after 25 years of marriage. Like, no, like human Michelle's like, no, okay. But what I do remember is I remember being in that heavenly realm in my 3rd NDE when they're downloading me with all this information of what's to come, and my soul being like, okay, yeah, let's go. I've got this, right? So when we are in the power of our soul and we are feeling that love, and we know that this life is just a blip in the scope of eternity, it's a second, then what do we know? We're like, oh, I've totally got this. And so I designed my life plan. I'm not a victim to this world. I designed my life plan, and I came here to learn and grow in love through the contrast of life. I understand that. I think I obviously have more awareness maybe than a lot of people about that. But all of this is about growing. And the other thing is, in spirit world, we know that none of us ever die. That is an illusion. And for all of you experiencers who have had NDEs, you know that this life is a dream. And when you are in the other world, when you are on the other side, that reality is stronger, richer, deeper, more true, more vibrant, more real than anything you experience on this earth realm.
Yeah. So many people, they're like, why would I choose this life?
Right.
And they don't understand that. So for me, when I realized that, I was nauseous. I just wanted to throw up, like, as I was realizing I chose all this. What was that like for you? How did you come to that realization that you chose your whole life?
Yeah. Well, let me just use my most recent powerful experience with Gary's passing by suicide. Okay. So, because there
Do
isn't.
you want to tell people real quick who Gary was?
Yes. So Gary was the man that I believed was going to be my life partner. I'd known him for 4 years. We'd been together about a year, and he transitioned by suicide. I did know that he had had depression, but he was not suicidal to anyone's awareness at that point in time, including his ex-wife, his daughters, his sister. They actually had told me afterwards we'd never seen him happier than he had been with you. So none of us were expecting that. But obviously, right, he created a plan. So when I talk about my soul plan with him, I'm going to just go into detail on that a little bit, because this is why I will tell you we choose things that seem unimaginable in our human form. In my 25-year marriage, I had never felt loved the way that I felt loved by him. And so I have no doubt that I said to him, I will go through the pain and the trauma and the grief of losing you, just so that I can feel that kind of love in human form. And I have no doubt that he said to me, I will stay longer so that you can feel that type of love. And so on a soul level, we choose things that seem like horrific experiences, but it's because we realize that it's, one, a blink of an eye in the scope of eternity. We realize that no one ever dies, that the soul is continual, eternal, period. But we also realize that our greatest growth and depth comes in those darkest moments and during those challenges. And I want to take this back to a mom I was reading for a couple of years ago. This mom was, I believe she was an ICU RN. She had a 2-day-old baby. She had given birth to it, and this baby was on life support. And I cannot remember the complications around it, but they had to make the decision to take the baby off life support. And she came to me a few years after the baby had passed and was obviously broken. This beautiful baby came in the reading and said to her, "You're looking at this all wrong. I grew for 9 months to spend 2 days with you." And when you realize the beauty and the love of spirit world, of the true existence of who we are, and that this beautiful baby would grow for 9 months to spend 2 days with her as his mom, that's where the love comes from. And that's why we choose things that we can't imagine, because at the end of the day, this life really is all about the love.
Beautiful. So lots of people want to know about the soul plan.
Soul plan. All
right. So how do we know what is our true soul life plan? What's ego versus desires and spirit? Like,
yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that I personally do is I always ask for things that are going to be in my highest good. Because you know what, Michelle wants to win the lottery. Michelle wants a house next to you in Hawaii somewhere. Michelle's got plans. You know what I mean? But is that for my highest good? My spirit might have a different idea about that because I have not got the winning lottery numbers yet. You know what I mean? So when we're talking about soul plans, listen, life does not have to be hard. It is going to have contrast without a doubt. This is planet Earth, right? You're going to have a flat tire. You're going to have this happen. Things are going to happen. You're going to get food poisoning. It's called life. But it does not have to be hard, because what happens is when we're in alignment with our soul plan, we are more in the flow. And what you will find out is things are more effortlessly moving in the right direction for you and going with you. It's those moments where you keep knocking on the door that won't open because that door is not meant for you to go through. You're supposed to keep going down the hallway to the next door that is open for you. So our soul plans also, I will tell you this, no one comes into your life by accident. The people that are in your life are there for a reason, a season, and a lifetime. Most of them are not there for a lifetime. Even the things that are very challenging and you're wondering like, oh my gosh, why would that happen? It happens so that you could learn and grow, and you have that experience. Right now you get the opportunity. Do you want to keep, putting yourself in a situation that is a challenge? Go ahead. I mean, no one's going to stop you. We have free will on planet Earth, but we also have free will in spirit world. And that's something to really realize. So your free will of your soul is what created the life plan for your free will of your human existence. So we come in here, body, mind, spirit. We pick a body. We pick our family. We pick our friends. And when I say we pick our body, what I mean is we know we're coming into a body that has genetic DNA, right? So my mom passed from breast cancer. My soul chose a body that was going to have a higher disposition to that happening than maybe it would for other people. But I also have my mind and my spirit. And there's where my free will also, I have free will in all three of those. Actually, I can eat right. I can exercise. I can take care of myself. I can monitor my thoughts, my mind, right? I can choose to think good things. I can choose to be optimistic. I can choose all of these options that way. And then I have my soul or my spirit, which is also going to say, Michelle, that's not your story. That's your mom's story. And it ended there, right? So we have free will, both soul level free will and free will human level. Sometimes we kind of get like a dog and we like to chase our tail in a circle, right? Keep going after the same thing, and it never works out. It's because it wasn't meant for you. Your soul plan has a different direction for you.
I'm so glad that you said that. So I want to go back to, so for all the people that practice law of attraction, and they're like, I'm doing it. Why am I not? Why didn't I win the lottery? Why don't I have money? Answer, like reiterate why that might be.
Well, number one, it might not just be part of your soul plan. But the other way is, how are you manifesting it? So let's talk about law of attraction and money, because that's a good way to go. Because everybody, number one, this is an 8-year numerology. So it's supposed to be a year of abundance. But when we talk about money, money is a frequency. It's an energetic frequency is all that it is. Now, we put a lot more weight on it than that. But if I give you a service, you give me money. If I give you strawberries, you give me money. Whatever it is, right? It's an energy exchange is what money is. So number one, there's actually an abundance of money. There is not a shortage. Money is zooming by all of us right now. It's going through the credit card readers. It's going into your bank account. I mean, it's a frequency. It's zooming past us like the airwaves and the AM station right now, right? But you've got to start focusing on the abundance in your life to attract more money. So for somebody, I was just having this conversation like yesterday or New Year's Eve with someone. Go look in your front yard and be like, wow, that's an abundance of blades of grass. That's an abundance of dirt. There are an abundance of rocks in Arizona. We have an abundance of cactus. When you start focusing on abundance, your life starts attracting it in. But when you're like, I need more money, think of the energy behind that. There's a totally different energy between I need, and abundance, abundance, abundance.
Perfectly said. So a lot of people want to know,
Mm-hmm.
do you communicate with Gary regularly?
Oh, well, okay, just you saying that kind of made my heart go. Yes, actually, now it is much harder for me because I have a lot of emotion connected to him. But he's a really lucky guy because I know a lot of people that are very intuitive. So he sends me messages all the time through them, but I will get information from him. I will get feelings from him. I'll know when he's around. I will hear different things like that. I will actually share this. This will be in my second book, which I haven't started writing. But I actually found out that he took his life from him. So he came through to me, and he always used to tell me, he would say, "You sure are beautiful. You're so beautiful." And I actually felt him standing behind me, and he said to me, "You sure are beautiful." And I started crying because I knew this felt like mediumship. And so he was actually the one that came through. So I do have communication with him because I have emotions in it and makes it a cloudier channel. This is why I'm really good at reading for other people, and it's a little harder to read for myself. But yes, he lets me know he's around a lot. And if I'm not getting the message, he will find someone to give it to me.
That's beautiful. And yeah, and by the way, for everyone to know, Michelle hasn't heard it yet either, but Gary sent me a song for Michelle. It's on my Facebook story or Instagram story about this event. And it was very cool. He made sure in several different ways, YouTube, Spotify, and then Instagram, it showed right up. So, and Michelle hasn't heard it yet, but anyway, so yeah, so that's actually a really good point. So many people are grieving their lost, spouse or their kids, and they can't hear them. So what can people do about that? Like, how do you manage your grief so that you can then hear?
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm going to be real honest. I don't know that I can manage my grief. I can compartmentalize, but there are moments where I'm down on my knees, it's what it is. And that's the human experience. So let me just say this. With all of the spiritual knowledge I have, with the understanding of the soul plan that I have, with all of this that I have, and I do feel very well equipped for what I'm going through, I still cannot bypass the human grief. So let's just be clear. You cannot bypass the human grief. But when you got to get down on your knees and cry, you do it. And I will tell you this, when you are looking for your loved ones, you're not going to find them in the grief. You're going to find them in the love. So here's the problem. We're all like in our dark moments. We're like, send me a sign. I need it right now. I can't go on. Well, we've now dropped our energy so low that it's really hard for them to connect with us. But if we wait till we're feeling better and we have a moment where we're happy, smiling, whatever, and we're remembering them with love, or we're thinking about a favorite memory or whatever, that's where it's easier to connect because we've now raised our vibration. So when I'm doing mediumship, I'm raising my vibration and they're dropping theirs, and then we're meeting. And so it's really hard to find them in those deepest, darkest moments, but you will find your loved one in the love. In the love.
So even after 3 NDEs, you're still human. That's what you're saying.
I've tried to get out of it a few times, but one of these days, I'm out.
So, okay. So does everybody, and you've kind of already answered this, but does everybody have the ability to communicate with the other side? And do we need an NDE to do it?
Okay, please don't have the NDE to do it. It's not, I totally do not recommend that. I did it the hard way, people. Don't do that. Yes, we all have the ability to connect with the other side. Now, you can train it, you can grow it, you can hone it. So it's not usually just something that's raw, but I want you to think of it like doing math earlier, right? You start out in kindergarten math, you're learning your numbers, and then you're adding and subtracting and then multiplying and growing. It's a muscle, and we strengthen it. And we also, there are going to be different channels. So When I became a Reiki master, that was before I was officially a medium. I was like, oh my God, where are these messages coming from? They all connect to source, right? So if you're somebody who is pulled to healing energy, go do that, because that's going to open all of your channels and you're going to be amazed at the other messages that start coming in.
Yeah, that's a great, and yeah, for everybody who hasn't met Becky Ostel-Clausen, she teaches Reiki the Wednesday before the IANDS conference. So in the fall, she'll be doing it and you guys can take it. She's an amazing teacher. Okay, so do you believe in reincarnation?
I do. I did not used to. I grew up Catholic. I did not believe in it. Even the first few years of my mediumship, I was kind of like, I don't know about that. But I have spontaneously had some of my own past life memories. I did do a past life regression also, but even on my own, I have. And so what I have found is I believe in reincarnation, and this is how I'm going to explain it to you. Do you see this beautiful picture behind me? This to me, well, number one, you can't really see it on this camera, but it represents like the light that I saw in heaven. There's glitter and sparkles, it's alive. But this is also like our soul. So each one of these rays of light would be a lifetime, a name, a personality, and it all feeds back into the one, the wholeness, right? So a lot of times when I'm reading for someone, they'll say, oh my gosh, what if my child is reincarnating around the world and has another family? It's not going to be that version of your child that you knew and loved, because that ray of light will always be that ray of light. It's going to be a new ray of light. So the soul can grow and move. But also, when I'm in a reading, I'm not going to have your great grandfather from 15 lifetimes come in, because you're going to be like, Michelle, I have no idea what you're telling me. Like, what do you mean? You know, so it's going to be relevant and pertinent to your lifetime now.
Yeah, so I think you answered it, but just to reiterate, so we have loved ones that meet us on the other side, but what if they also reincarnated?
Yeah.
In that time. So how does that work?
Yeah, because what it will be is the ray of light. See the different rays? That is your loved one will always, always be that ray of light. So that ray of light will always be there to be with you and to walk through this life with you. And then if they have reincarnated, they've grown another ray of light.
And we can still communicate with them.
Yes.
If they've reincarnated.
Yeah, because, well, think about my second near-death experience where my soul was in multiple places at one time. That's how a soul is. It's not, so even if a piece of the soul has reincarnated and is now coming in a baby form, the piece of it as the person you love is still always the piece. It's always that ray.
Okay, so, oh boy. Just so everybody knows, you've got so many amazing questions. We're not going to get to all of them, but if you go to the Hawaiian IANDS Facebook group, type your questions in the live replay, and Michelle can go back and answer them there, and also on the Hawaiian IANDS YouTube channel, so that we can make sure that Michelle answers them all. But we're not going to get them all done right now because there's so many amazing questions.
So I kind of feel like you just gave me a homework assignment or something. Like, what just happened there, Sean? Like, I'm going to be up till 1 in the morning.
That's right.
What the heck?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is amazing. Like so many wonderful questions. Okay, so if nobody crosses to the other side alone, what causes trapped? This is a multi-part question. What causes certain souls to not cross, to maybe be stuck in this dimension? And then is there a way, or do some people, or do you help those trapped souls cross over?
Yep. Okay. Great question. Yes, I do help souls cross over. But to go back to that, so there are a couple of reasons why a soul wouldn't cross right into the light. Number one, it might be part of their pre-life plan. They might say, hey, I want to stay in that limbo zone for a while and see what happens. So there could be a plan to it. The other thing that I've come in contact with is a lot of times they're still very much connected to their humanness, and they're worried they're going to be judged or shamed or punished. And so they're almost afraid. Sometimes the soul that passes very unexpectedly and traumatically might get a little bit caught there too. But very often, even if you pass from trauma and unexpected, your spirit team is right there. And I know that even with Gary's passing, I know that he got out of his body and was like, oh my God, what did I do? And his life guides came in and said, we're not leaving you in this space. Like, you're coming to the light now, you know? And so I think that's really important for people to know, but usually it's the mindset of I'm going to be judged, or I'm ashamed of something, or it could be part of the pre-life plan. So what happens when I do that, I'm actually going to do a house clearing on Saturday, is really for me, listen, I don't deal with like the people. I know there are people that are like demons and evil and da 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 and all of that. That's not me. I can work with ghosts. I'm not going into I know what I can do and what I can't. So with that being said, I have great people if you need something else. But for me, I'm going in to do this house clearing. So what I know is I usually tap into the energy, so I can clear houses from anywhere. I don't have to be in the physical location. This one just happens to be in the Phoenix area. But what we're doing is we are clearing the energy interdimensionally, multidimensionally. So I go in and I clear it on all dimensions for all of time, you know, and I want to clear it in different areas, because if you think about a ghost type energy, it's not in the human earth realm energy, and it's not in the heavenly energy yet. It's in an interdimensional space. With that being said, there are a couple different things. Sometimes a ghost will perceive, I don't even like that word ghost. I'm just using it because everyone understands what I'm saying when I use that word. Sometimes the ghost is perceiving the reality as it's going on now. Other times that ghost is seeing it like, well, this was the house I lived in 50 years ago, and here's where my couch is. And they're still seeing it in the reality that they saw it in. So depending on where that beautiful spirit is, I will go in, I will call in the light, I will call in the angels, I will call in their loved ones, and they always step into the light.
What's the difference between a ghost and like an energy imprint? Do you know what I'm saying? What I'm talking about?
I'm feeling that. Give me a couple more words.
Okay, so somebody sits in a plastic a vinyl chair,
Yeah,
right? And they leave a butt print.
Oh,
And then
okay.
they go away.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So like we have night marchers here in Hawaii, which many people have heard about.
Okay.
And many people would say it's just the energetic imprint that's still going on. Does that make sense what I'm asking?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. So to me, I almost think when I'm thinking of an energy imprint, I'm thinking more of psychometry. So like if you hold your grandma who's passed bracelet, it still has her energy on it, or your loved one's robe, or whatever it is. So there is like residual energy that is left behind, but there is also the energy that is connected to the soul that is active and still alive. So I would say if I really, if there's a difference between sitting in someone's energy or feeling residual energy versus feeling active, alive energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how do you distinguish between the two?
Well, you know, I feel the difference. That's how I distinguish. But I would say this, if it's active and moving, okay, we're talking about the universe where everything is actually playing all at once. Time isn't linear, all dimensions, past, present, future, everything is happening right now. So could this energy that in our human mind existed in a former time period be marching across the earth right now? Absolutely, because everything's actually happening right now. So I wouldn't call it residual energy. That doesn't feel like the right word for me. I would think it's actually active energy.
Active. Awesome. So so people want to know, you know, we talked about, okay, so your parents crossed over, now they're reincarnated. So somebody wants to know, does that mean they weren't really my parents?
No, they're your parents. Listen, and this is something that we do need to talk about, because this is a big part of the soul plan. They are your parents. And let me tell you something. If you were adopted, you still planned whoever raised you to be your mom. You just had to come in this way, or you had to come in. You know, a lot of times people will internalize that and say, oh my gosh, my birth mom gave me up. No, your birth mom agreed with you on a soul level that this human wasn't going to be able to get you out their body. So you were going to come in this way. So it's actually not about rejection. It's actually about a soul giving you love so you could end up with the right parents. Now, they are the ones that chose to play your parent in this lifetime. It doesn't mean that they are your parents in every lifetime. And you're also, our souls have preferences. We're not always female. We're not always male. I will tell you, my soul likes to be female. I don't know why, but I know I do. You know, but some souls love to be male, and there are actually also dimensions and places where there isn't a gender assigned. You are energy. You are, you are what you are. And so our soul likes to play in all of those things. Before you create your life plan, you get together as a team with these people and you say, hey, I'm going to need you to be mom, and I'm going to need you to be dad, and I'm going to need you to be like the meanest big brother ever, and I'm going to need her, whatever your plans are, right? And everyone comes together and creates this game of life because they know their souls are going to grow, and it's not always a permanent position. So maybe this life you're the mom, maybe in the next life you're the kid, maybe you're not connected in the next life because you're going to reincarnate with some other people.
So if our parent is completely abusive, kind of like if people have seen that movie Carrie, remember the mother in Carrie,
Yeah.
you're saying that we chose each other and we agreed.
I know. I'm sorry. I know. I like, all I can tell you is I'm sorry. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And it is not comprehensible on a human level. And I do not condone abuse. Okay. There is no part of me that thinks it's okay to be an abuser or be abused because your soul planned that. Like, let me be very clear here. No. Okay. But do I think that your soul said, hey, we can learn and grow, and if we do it this way? Yes. And do I think that also, let's go back to free will. You are never forced to abuse someone, right? There are free will choices that are happening. At any point in time, the abuser actually could stop abusing. So it's not always going to be like, hey, I'm going to abuse you horrifically. I mean, that's not always the case. So it's not always going to be a one size fits all, because free will does happen in here. And I also don't think that right now we're talking very human, and we're forgetting that, hold on, I got to get the words, like spirits moving, hold on. All right. So this is how I want you all to just take a deep breath and see yourself right now. Think about going to the movies, okay? And think about sitting there, and there are things being projected onto the screen. Sometimes they are romantic comedies and they're hilarious. And other times they are things that deeply move you and you find yourself crying and they stay with you. And other times they're war movies, and other times, right? Think of all the movies you've ever seen projected on the screen. But you're not the movie, you're the screen. Your soul is the screen. It's not the movie. And there are things that will touch you and stick with you and permeate you for all eternity. But you're not the movie, you're the screen.
Beautiful. Yeah, in Sanskrit, they call that Lalila, the grand play.
Yeah.
That's beautiful that you said that. Okay, so so many good questions, you guys. This is just great. I want to go back to the fact that you were born Catholic. And did your NDEs change your views in regards to religion?
Yes. So being born and raised Catholic was really good in a lot of ways, because I believed I had angels, I had saints, I had this whole team of light workers wanting to help me. If I lost something, I'd pray to St. Anthony. If my dog was sick, I'd pray to St. Francis, right? So in those ways, it was really good for me because I was already believing I had a team. Now, I remember in first grade when my dog died and I went to Sunday school and I told my teacher that, and she looked at me and said, well, your dog's not in heaven. Dogs don't have souls. And I was devastated. And that was the first moment where I said, oh, well, I'm not sure if this is for me, right? So I did follow through with my Catholic religion for quite a time. But what I will say this is after my 3 near-death experiences, it is rare for me to find a human that I feel like enhances my connection to God more than the connection that I already have to God, source, the divine, myself. So I believe all religions are beautiful. I believe they are productive for many, many people. And I have not found one at this point in my life that makes me feel closer to God than I do on my own.
Beautifully said. Yeah, that was something I did not know in our huge Life After Death group on Facebook. The amount of people that believe that animals don't have souls. I have to say, I had no idea. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's another big thing that is discussed right now in our Facebook groups. I should actually say they're battling it out. It's not really a discussion. What do you think about Ouija boards?
Oh, geez. Okay. I will be honest, that is the one thing I would not touch. We do have things that are portals in this world, and not all portals are good portals, right? So whether that's me being superstitious or falling back on my Catholic roots, I would just stay away from them. Listen, energy is energy. Think about what do you want to focus on and what do you want to bring into this world. If you want to connect with the light, go sit in the sunshine, go out for a walk, go into Mother Nature, go to the purest form of light that you can find to connect with the light. You know, I would be suspicious that grandma is talking to you through a Ouija board. So I would just say, just don't. Go ask her to send you a feather while you're walking through the woods. That'd be better.
So do you think those are lower dimensional energies? Is there such thing as lower dimensional energy?
Yeah.
And trust me, there's a lot of people, like I said, this is a raging, people are killing each other right now on Facebook over it, wanting to know.
Okay. Yes, I do think there are lower dimensional energies. I do. Okay. Everything's vibrational, right? Planet Earth, by the way, is pretty low in the spectrum of energy. Like this is like, you all know it. We live here, right? But I would say this. Yes, there are portals. Portals exist between dimensions on planet Earth. They do. I can feel them when I walk into places. I can see them sometimes. And so what is the intention behind your connection to spirit? Are you looking to connect with the light and love? Then do it through prayer and energy and meditation. Are you looking for lower vibrational energies? Then go play with your Ouija board. You don't know who is actually coming through your Ouija board, do you? I mean, do you know who's giving you this information? So let me just say this. When I do a reading, and I'm going into my space to connect with someone, I literally see in my mind where that my soul is in this room. I have 4 angels, and so 2 in each corner of the room. I have Jesus at the door, and the intention is that any information that comes in will be in light and love and for this person's highest good. And guess what? That means Michelle doesn't have to filter the information, because any information that comes through is already getting screened by Jesus and the angels, and I am able to share it with you. So, I mean, that's how I work. So if you want to create a foundation like that around your Ouija board, then maybe that's okay. You know, I'm just telling you, think about the intention and think about the energy and make sure that you know what you're connecting with. And here's the other thing. You don't actually... So I will tell, I'm not against people using pendulums, tarot cards, like anything like that, right? I'm okay with tools, but I always tell people, intuit, feel the answer first yourself, and then use that as your backup answer, because we are the channel. We are the connection to source.
Perfectly said. So yeah, add that to your list of homework to go break up the brawls on Facebook.
I'm not. No.
Yes, beautifully said. Okay, so we are coming to the end, and I just want to remind everybody, all these really great questions that you're asking. So if you go in the Hawaiian IANDS Facebook group, you can ask questions in there, and Michelle will answer them when she has time. And you can also post them on the YouTube channel when we have the replay up there. But Michelle, I'm just so grateful, and I know everybody else is. And what would you like to share as your closing thoughts with everybody?
You know what? I just want to share the importance of your perspective, because that really is your free will, right? And this is really where your life is given the opportunity to change. So let's say you have a flat tire and it ruins your whole day because you had that flat tire and it was the worst thing that happened. You know, we've just given it all of this negative energy and we've let it influence your day. But what if you have the flat tire and you say that was inconvenience, but it's okay because, and you give yourself other reasons. Our perspective is our free will. So we can look at something and say, this was horrible, and let it ruin our day and run down that track with it, or we can kind of stop that. So with that being said, your thoughts lead to your emotions, which lead to your actions. So think about what you want to think about. And that's really where your free will is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Put your questions in the chat in Facebook. The ones we didn't answer, go to michelleclaire.net and look for our workshop that we'll do after death communication, and you can come share your experiences and ask your questions, and Michelle will help you with that. So again, thank you so much, Michelle.
Oh, thank you. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I wish everyone the best, happiest, brightest year ahead.
Beautiful. Thank you. Aloha, everyone. You have a great night, and we will see you on our sharing group on the 16th. Aloha.